Close your eyes, and let's drift back to philosophy's darkest thoughts for sleep. As the world quiets down, imagine yourself walking through a dim, endless library, lit only by flickering candles that cast long shadows over aged leather tomes. Somewhere in the echoing silence, a question rustles the pages. Are you still you? Tonight, let's wander through the deepest philosophical rabbit holes, softly, slowly, the kind of thoughts that slip under your skin like a cold breeze under the covers. Hey guys, tonight we tiptoe into the paradoxes, the mental mazes, the delightful existential puzzles you probably won't survive intact, but in a good way. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I love seeing how far these little whispers travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You reach out and touch the smooth, polished wood of the ship's railing. The sea is quiet, moonlight bouncing across gentle waves. You're aboard a curious vessel, the ship of Theseus. Every part of it has been replaced. One plank, one nail, one sail at a time. No single original piece remains. And yet, it feels like the same ship, doesn't it? But now, someone brings out a strange twist. They've been collecting every original part and reassembling them in a hidden dock. Now there are two ships. So which is the real ship of Theseus? You might think this is just boat nerd trivia, but here's where it creeps into your cozy bed, because your body is doing the same thing, cell by cell, slowly replacing itself. Your brain's wiring shifts, your bones regenerate, even your memories get fuzzy around the edges. After enough time, there's not a single original part left. So, are you still you? Scientists still argue whether personal identity lies in the brain, the body, or some ghostly thread between. One theory: continuity of consciousness. As long as your story continues, so do you. Another theory: that your sense of self is a clever illusion, like a movie made from still images, flickering fast enough to feel whole. And then there's the fringe idea that every time you sleep and wake, you're not continuing, you're rebooting. The person waking up, a perfect copy with the same memories, convinced it's the original. You probably never thought your alarm clock could be such an existential guillotine, did you? A philosopher named Derek Parfit once said, "Personal identity is not what matters. Imagine your future self as just another person, someone you'll become but never quite meet. That cupcake you're craving right now, that's their problem. Now you're standing between two docks. On one side, the old you, piece by piece, gone. On the other, the new you, seamless, functioning, emotionally attached to discount pizza. Which one's more you? Is the kind of question that doesn't need an answer. It just needs to echo a little while in the night, like waves lapping against the hull of a ship that might be yours, or might not be. You're walking through a city at night. Neon signs blink with decisions. Pizza or salad, Uber or walk, swipe left or right. You feel in control. After all, you're making choices, right? But then comes the unsettling whisper. What if you're not? Free will. It sounds heroic, doesn't it? The glorious power to choose your destiny, one sock at a time. But dig a little deeper, just under the comforter, and it all starts to crumble. Imagine a massive domino chain stretching back to the Big Bang. Every atom, every neuron, every awkward text you regret, it's all part of one long, unstoppable tumble. Your decision to hit snooze this morning, Maybe it was already baked into the universe 13.8 billion years ago, along with your caffeine addiction and your 3 a.m. scrolling habits. Neuroscientists have done the cruelest thing. They've strapped volunteers into MRI machines and told them to press a button whenever they feel like it. And guess what? The brain shows signs of making the decision seconds before the person becomes aware of it. Your brain chooses first. You just take credit later, like a late-to-the-party magician. Some philosophers say this means free will is an illusion, like those magician hands distracting you from the sleight of thought. Others argue that your will still matters, just not in the way we usually think. It's not a spotlight, but a dimmer switch. You can nudge things, a little, sometimes. Scientists still argue whether determinism means doom or just a more poetic form of causality. After all, if everything's a chain reaction, then you're a firework. Predictable? Maybe. But still pretty spectacular. Now here's a quirky twist. Some thinkers believe quantum physics might give you back a little freedom. Tiny particles behave unpredictably, so maybe, just maybe, your brain's decisions wobble on the edge of randomness. But is randomness really freedom? Or is it just chaos in a lab coat? You picture your mind as a control room. You're at the helm, right? But then you notice the levers are already moving. Someone, or something, has pre-programmed your reactions. Maybe it's your upbringing, your DNA. That time your uncle made fun of your handwriting and you never quite recovered. So if you're not really steering, why does it feel like you are? Because maybe the illusion matters more than the truth. Maybe believing in choice keeps us sane, accountable, and slightly less likely to eat an entire cheesecake at 2 a.m. As you lie there, still and quiet, you start to wonder if that too, your stillness, isn't something you chose either. Maybe this whole bedtime story was always going to reach your ears. Maybe even the moment you decide to drift off is just one more domino toppling in perfect predetermined silence. And if you're thinking, well, I don't believe that. Who decided that? You're standing at the edge of a cliff. Not a real one. Don't worry. No wind or vertigo. Just a mental one. Below you lies a deep, endless black. The abyss. Capital A. It doesn't roar or scream or even blink. It just waits. Still. Patient. This is where Nietzsche leaned in and whispered, if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. Romantic, right? Nothing like a brooding void to spice up your evening routine. But here's the thing. They always make the abyss sound terrifying. A black hole of meaninglessness. But what if it's actually kind of peaceful? What if the abyss doesn't hate you? What if it doesn't care at all? Welcome to cosmic indifference. It's not evil. It's not good. It just is. The universe doesn't have an opinion on your playlist or your breakup or your dinner plans. Galaxies swirl, stars explode, planets freeze and boil, and all of it happens without even a shrug. Scientists still argue whether the universe has any inherent purpose, or if we're just here because, well, physics happened. The Goldilocks conditions of Earth could be a 1 in a trillion accident, or they could be inevitable in a multiverse packed with endless tries. Either way, the cosmos probably isn't rooting for your success, or your failure. Now here's your quirky tidbit. Some ancient philosophers, like the Stoics, loved this idea. If the world's going to do its thing no matter what, they thought, then why not just ride the wave? Accept the chaos. Let go of control. The void becomes a spa day for your overthinking. Still, others, like the absurdist King Albert Camus, took a different route. He compared life to Sisyphus, endlessly pushing that rock up the hill. There's no escape, no reward. But the twist? Camus says you should imagine Sisyphus happy, laughing even, because if life has no ultimate meaning, you're free to make your own. You stretch out your hand toward the abyss. It doesn't take or give. But now, somehow, you feel lighter. Like that awkward silence in a conversation has turned into a warm pause, the kind where you sip tea and just exist. Here's a sleepy thought. The stars don't care if you burned your toast this morning. The moon has no opinion on your haircut. The universe is too busy dancing its ancient, glittering waltz to notice your awkward hiccups, and there's something kind of comforting about that. You can step away from the cliff now. You've seen the abyss, and it saw you back, and you're still here, breathing, listening, wrapped in a world that doesn't need you to be perfect, just present. And maybe, just maybe, the void isn't staring you down. Maybe it's just winking. You're walking in circles now, but the scenery keeps repeating. Same flickering street lamp, same cat that definitely judged you, same weird smell of midnight pancakes, déjà vu, or maybe you're trapped in the eternal return. Welcome to one of Nietzsche's more unsettling sleepover stories. The idea that time doesn't move forward, it loops, over and over, forever. Every decision you've made, every moment you've lived, every time you've accidentally replied "you too" to a waiter who told you to enjoy your meal, it all happens again and again, forever. Imagine someone appears in your room right now. They're wearing an old suit and an exhausted expression. They say, "Hey, quick question. If you had to live your exact life on repeat, infinitely, would that be heaven or hell?" That awkward email? Yep, forever. That late night binge of suspicious sushi? Yep. That one perfect nap you had on a rainy Tuesday? That too. You don't get to edit. No director's cut. Just one eternal rewatch of your personal documentary. Scientists still argue whether time is linear, cyclical, or just something our brains stitch together so we don't scream every time we look at a clock. Some theories of physics, especially in cosmology, entertain the possibility of repeating universes or cycles of cosmic birth and rebirth. The Big Bang, Big Crunch, Big Bounce. It's like the universe just can't let go of its greatest hits. Now, here's a quirky twist. Some ancient Indian and Buddhist philosophies actually liked the idea of time as a circle. Life, death, rebirth. It's all part of a wheel. The goal isn't to escape by hitting a big red button. It's to stop clinging to the wheel entirely. Stop spinning. But back to you, stuck on this hypothetical cosmic carousel. The real kicker of eternal return isn't whether it's true. It's whether it would change how you live. Nietzsche didn't pitch it as a law of physics. He pitched it as a dare. If you knew you'd relive every choice forever, would you make different ones? Would you finally stop doom scrolling at 3 a.m.? Would you tell your favorite person how much they matter? Would you try the pistachio gelato instead of always playing it safe with vanilla? Because in that sense, the idea isn't dark. It's clarifying. You're the author of the loop. If this life is your eternal rerun, you might as well make it binge-worthy. You pause under that same flickering lamp. The cat is still judging you, but now with a hint of respect. You nod and keep walking the loop, not because you have to, but because maybe, just maybe, you're ready to. And if you text your ex again tonight, well, guess what? You probably already did. You're alone in your kitchen at night. The light above the sink hums gently, and the microwave clock blinks 1200 like it's mocking your inability to set it. You run your hand over the counter, smooth, cold, still. But what if, stay with me here, what if the counter feels you back? Welcome to Panpsychism, the wonderfully weird idea that consciousness isn't just a human thing, or even an animal thing. It's everywhere, in everything. Yes, including your mug, and your fridge, and possibly your left sock. You take a sip of tea and glance suspiciously at the teapot. Is it aware? Not in a "hey Susan" kind of way, but maybe it has a faint, sleepy awareness, like the way you feel when you're half awake and not sure if the dream is over. This idea isn't just the territory of stone philosophy majors. It's been seriously debated by thinkers from Plato to Galileo to contemporary philosophers like Philip Goff. Some believe that consciousness might be a fundamental feature of reality, like mass or charge. Tiny particles, they suggest, might each carry a spark of awareness. Put enough of them together, and ta-da! You get brains, thoughts, and arguments over pineapple on pizza. Scientists still argue whether consciousness emerges from complexity, like an accidental side effect of a highly organized brain, or whether it's something more elemental, like light or gravity. If panpsychism is true, then your entire kitchen could be a low-frequency symphony of sleepy awareness, each object humming its quiet inner tune. Now don't worry, your spoon isn't judging you. It's not writing a memoir, but it might have the tiniest flicker of what it's like to be a spoon. Spoonness, if you will. You, meanwhile, are swimming in a complex soup of awareness, thinking about your socks while your brain hums in 10,000 directions. Here's your quirky tidbit. In Japan, the Shinto tradition treats objects as having spirits, especially tools that are used with care. There's even a festival, Harikuyo, where old sewing needles are thanked and laid to rest in tofu, because after years of service, they've earned it. Honestly, that needle deserves better retirement benefits than most people. So next time you toss out a broken phone charger, maybe offer a little thank you, just in case. You lie back now, surrounded by the gentle thrum of sleepy objects. Your pillow? Possibly vibing. Your blanket? Low-key loving this. Even the lamp? Just trying its best to be warm and helpful. Panpsychism doesn't demand you believe in haunted toasters. It just asks you to consider that maybe, just maybe, the world is more awake than we think. And if everything's got a tiny mind, then you're never truly alone. Even when you're whispering goodnight to your houseplants. They heard you, by the way, and they appreciated it. You're walking through a crowded street, but something's off. No one's making eye contact. Conversations loop strangely, like buggy video game NPCs. You reach out to touch someone's shoulder, and your hand passes right through. Welcome to Solipsism, the philosophical mood swing that wonders, what if none of this is real except you? Not in a matrix full of robots kind of way. Though fair play, those movies definitely helped the idea go viral. Solipsism is older and much sleepier than that. It asks, if your mind is the only thing you know exists, how can you be sure anything else is real? What if everything, the friends, the pizza guy, even this narrator, is just something you're dreaming? It's not meant to make you feel special, more like isolated, like a main character, without a supporting cast. Scientists still argue whether consciousness can ever be fully understood from the outside. You know you're conscious, but how do you know anyone else is? You can't crawl into their head, you just assume. And maybe you're right, or maybe you're inventing the whole show. Thanks a lot, brain. Here's a quirky tidbit. In 17th century France, Philosopher René Descartes famously decided to doubt everything. The senses? Unreliable. The body? Maybe a hallucination. His conclusion? I think, therefore I am. Which is a strong flex, until you realize it only confirms his existence. Everyone else? Still maybe a dream. Bummer. So what's the solipsist's bedtime routine? They brush their teeth, thank themselves for the toothpaste, and tuck themselves in, knowing full well they're the only real person in the universe. Or at least, they think they are. See how fast this spiral goes? Now let's get even cozier. What if you're not just dreaming other people, but yourself too? If your past is just a memory, and your future is imagination, and your present is fleeting, what part of you is even stable? And if you're dreaming me up right now, I hope I'm doing okay. Am I whispering soothing nonsense? Or have I gone full existential raccoon rummaging through your brain's trash? Either way, I'm flattered to have made it into your imagination. You have excellent taste in bedtime narrators, but maybe this thought isn't here to isolate you. Maybe it's here to soften everything. If life is a dream, then your fears lose a little bite. That awkward thing you said in 10th grade, just a mental blip, that missed opportunity, a sketch in your mind's sketchbook. You pull your blanket tighter. The night hums around you. Whether it's a simulation, a dream, or the echo of your own mind, you're safe, cared for even, if only by your own creation. And hey, if everyone is imaginary, at least they've been pretty entertaining, especially that barista you definitely made up. Solid character work. You're sitting in the dark now, not scared, just thoughtful. A quiet voice floats through your mind. What if nothing matters? Not in a teenager with a guitar way, in the philosophical, bone-deep, curl-under-a-blanket kind of way. Welcome to moral nihilism, the idea that there's no such thing as objective right or wrong, no cosmic scoreboard, no glowing rules carved in the stars, just humans making stuff up as we go. You may have felt this before, when two people yell opposite things, both claiming truth, or when history shows us that the moral heroes of one age are the villains of another. One century scandal is another's brunch conversation. Moral nihilism says, maybe that's because morality isn't woven into the universe. Maybe it's a human invention, like indoor plumbing and microwave popcorn. Super useful, deeply comforting, but still made up. Scientists still argue whether morality comes from biology, culture, or some kind of moral reality waiting to be discovered. Some evolutionary psychologists think morality evolved to help us cooperate and survive. But does that make it true, or just convenient? Here's a quirky twist. In Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov, one character famously suggests, if God is dead, then everything is permitted. But modern nihilists would probably say, well, not everything, but nothing is forbidden by the universe itself. It's like playing a board game with no rule book, just vibes and a lot of house rules. Now, this can sound bleak, but let's snuggle up with a brighter angle. If no morality is absolute, that means you get to participate in shaping it. We build meaning together. We decide what's kind, fair, decent. There's no divine referee, but there is community, culture, empathy. Without an eternal rulebook, morality becomes less about obeying and more about choosing, actively. You become an artist, not a robot. And that spilled coffee moment when you apologized to a stranger, that was your moral code at work. Handmade, messy, real. And here's the practical bit. Even if morality is invented, that doesn't mean we throw it out like expired yogurt. We still lock our doors. We still frown at line cutters. We still cry at Pixar movies because the feeling that something matters still matters. You lie there, blanketed in soft, shadowy doubt. The stars above don't care whether you are a good person today, but your cat might. Your mum definitely does. And maybe that's enough. Moral nihilism isn't about becoming a monster. It's about realizing you could be and choosing not to. Every time you act with kindness, you do it without a script. You write the scene yourself. So sleep easy tonight. There's no universal judge waiting. Just the gentle hum of your own conscience, quiet but present, like a nightlight made of thought. And if the universe doesn't keep score, that just means your decency is that much more impressive. You're mid-step now, walking through a marble corridor that never ends. Each time your foot rises, the floor shifts further away. You move, and yet you don't. Welcome to Zeno's Paradoxes, the bedtime stories of ancient Greece, designed specifically to melt your brain right before REM sleep. Let's start with his most famous trick, Achilles and the tortoise. Achilles, fast as lightning, gives the tortoise a head start. Logically, he should catch up, right? But Zeno says, not so fast. First, Achilles has to reach the point where the tortoise was. But by then, the tortoise has moved a little further, and again, and again. The space between them gets smaller, sure, but it never quite disappears. Infinite steps, no finish line. Now you're standing on the edge of your bed, wondering, how did I ever get into bed if I had to cross an infinite number of halfway points to do it? Scientists still argue whether Zeno's paradoxes actually disprove motion, or just show the limits of human intuition. Thanks to calculus and the concept of converging series, we know that infinite divisions can still add up to a finite number. But that doesn't stop Zeno from smirking in your dreams. Here's your quirky paradox within the paradox. Zeno used these arguments not to stop people from walking, but to support his teacher Parmenides, who believed change and movement were illusions. Yup, everything you think is happening, not happening. Time, fake news. You getting older? Just your imagination. Try using that one next birthday. Now imagine every step you take being an infinite series of microscopic decisions. Your heel lifts, your weight shifts, muscles contract, bones align, atoms bounce, and in between each moment, an infinite number of smaller ones. It's like watching your favorite movie frame by frame. It's still the same movie, but suddenly you're hyper-aware of every blink, every micro-expression, every weird extra in the background. Walking becomes a miracle or a glitch. But here's the thing. You do walk, you do move, your tea cools, your socks get lost. So what gives? Maybe Zeno wasn't trying to stop us, but slow us down. Help us notice the strange beauty of motion, that we're constantly falling forward and catching ourselves, that our entire lives are stitched together by countless, unnoticed halfway points. Tiny thresholds pass silently in the dark. So tonight, as you lie still, feel the movement inside you. Blood drifting through veins, air swirling in lungs. Even in rest, you're never really motionless. You're a galaxy of moving parts, obeying laws that philosophers still puzzle over while eating cold takeout. You've traveled an infinite journey just to get to this very second. And somehow, you're already here. Zeno would be annoyed, but you've earned your rest. You're floating now, not in space, not in water, just in a kind of quiet, mental soup. There's no room, no walls, no body, only thoughts, yours. Maybe, maybe not. Welcome to the strange and slightly unsettling world of Boltzmann Brains. Let's rewind. In the late 1800s, physicist Ludwig Boltzmann tried to explain why the universe appears so ordered, despite entropy, the natural tendency toward disorder. His solution: maybe what we see is just a rare, random fluctuation in an otherwise chaotic universe. A little cosmic burp of order. And from that idea, some modern thinkers asked, what if it's more likely for a single, isolated brain to spontaneously appear from the void, with fake memories, a full personality, and a hallucination of an entire world, than for a vast, structured universe like ours to form naturally? So merci, what if you are that brain? Scientists still argue whether Boltzmann brains pose a real problem, or just a philosophical itch. In theory, they're more statistically likely than an entire universe with galaxies and grilled cheese sandwiches, which means you might not be in a universe at all, just a blip, a disembodied consciousness imagining a bedtime story to keep from panicking. Comforting, right? Here's your quirky tidbit. Some cosmologists try to solve the Boltzmann brain issue by arguing that any theory predicting more brains than actual people must be flawed, because if you were a Boltzmann brain, all your observations would be suspect, including the science that led you to that conclusion, which, yes, makes the whole thing wonderfully circular and deeply nap-worthy. But let's break it down gently. Even if you were a Boltzmann brain, you wouldn't know. You still have your favorite snack, your memories, that one playlist you listen to when you want to cry dramatically in the shower. All of it would feel real, because to you it is. And that's the spooky, sleepy beauty of consciousness. It doesn't require reality to feel real. Now, why does this idea exist at all? Because physics loves extremes. If the universe is infinite, or eternal, or filled with countless fluctuations, then weirdness isn't just possible, it's inevitable. Somewhere out there, a brain might appear, float for 3 seconds and vanish, thinking it just had a full life. Maybe with a dog and an unpaid parking ticket. But you get more than 3 seconds. You get long walks, inside jokes, warm bread, cold bedsheets, and stories that whisper strange truths into your ear while the world sleeps. Even if you were just a flicker in chaos, it wouldn't change how this moment feels. And that's the key. Whether you're a person in the universe or a brain in a bubble, your experience is still yours. So go ahead, Boltzmann brain or not. Drift deeper. You're real enough for this dream, and that's all that matters tonight. You're standing by the tracks now. Not real ones, of course. Mental ones. Philosophical ones. And in the distance, you hear it. The soft, rhythmic clatter of a trolley car. It's not stopping. And up ahead, a lever. One of those levers. The classic setup. There's a runaway trolley barreling down the tracks. If you do nothing, it'll hit 5 people tied to the rails. But if you pull the lever, you'll switch the tracks, and it'll hit just 1 person instead, 5 or 1. No timeouts, no reruns, just cold, efficient ethics. Welcome to the trolley problem, a thought experiment that's kept philosophers, students, and your morally confused brain up at night for decades. You hesitate, not because you don't know what to do, but because you do. And it's awful either way. This isn't just a dorm room dilemma. It's a proxy for bigger questions. Do you sacrifice one to save many? Are consequences all that matter? Or do some actions remain wrong, no matter the outcome? Scientists still argue whether our moral instincts are rational, emotional, or just leftover programming from our evolutionary past, like wisdom teeth and passive-aggressive holiday texts. Now, here's a quirky twist. In the modern age, the trolley problem has gone digital. Think self-driving cars. If the car must choose between hitting one person or 5, who writes that code? Who pulls that virtual lever? Welcome to Ethics by Algorithm. You might think, I'd pull the lever, save the 5. But what if that one person is your sibling, your dog, your favorite barista who knows your exact latte order without asking? The problem isn't meant to have a clean answer. It's meant to get under your skin, to poke the soft spots where reason and emotion wrestle under the covers. And what about the variation where you're not pulling a lever, but pushing someone in front of the trolley to stop it? Same math, way different vibe. Suddenly, it's not numbers, it's you, your hands, your responsibility. You probably never expected to question your moral wiring this deeply after brushing your teeth. But here's the secret. The trolley problem isn't really about trolleys, or levers, or even ethics in a way. It's about how we feel about making impossible choices, about how we try to sleep knowing that life isn't fair, and sometimes no option feels right. You step away from the lever. The trolley vanishes. It was never real, just a haunting, creaky metaphor. But now you're left with something more useful than a decision, awareness, because life rarely gives you perfect scenarios. It gives you messy ones, foggy ones, but knowing your choices matter, even if they're flawed, means you're human, deeply, achingly, wonderfully human. And that's the whole point of this journey, isn't it? Not to find perfect answers, but to keep asking brave, sleepless questions. So now, as your thoughts soften and the room quiets, let the questions float into the background like dust in a sunbeam. The abyss, the paradoxes, the cosmic jokes, they're still there, but softer now. You don't have to solve them tonight. You just have to rest. Your breath slows. The weight of your body sinks into the mattress, held gently by the dark. Outside, the world keeps turning, with or without answers. You've earned this stillness. Let the thoughts dissolve. Let your mind drift. You are safe. You are curious. And now, you are deeply, wonderfully asleep.